You're listening to Second Mass Report, the Falling Skies podcast. Today we are covering Season 5, Episode 5, Non-Essential Personnel. Hi, once again with you, Frank Stella, and with me is...
Rob Southgate.
And, Rob, we only have 5 more episodes to go before the end of this series.
It's crazy, isn't it?
52 episodes total, and, man, is this season dark or what?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We called it at the beginning of the season. We said there's going to be a lot of deaths. It's going to be really dark. It's going places that are unexpected, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they've gone in places unexpected before on the show, but they're definitely doing it in a different way here. This is very, very interpersonal conflict that we're seeing. It's not, it's not just a new alien or just a new scare tactic. It's this. I mean, it's getting real, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. In fact, what we saw with Pope and Tom, I would say going into the end here, I'm kind of surprised they're making it a very personal story between these two guys.
And very dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah, I and they've been dramatic before, but I mean not like this. They've kicked it into a whole new gear.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Do we want to just start there and dive into the
let's do it, man.
Situation? And it's hard to just look at that isolated because I think in some obvious but also some subtle ways that situation is interacting with so many other characters and storylines.
Yeah. Well, it's impacting everything across the board.
Right. So where we left off was Pope kidnapping Hal, and basically what he's doing is sending Tom on, I guess, like a wild goose chase.
Yeah, this was interesting. He's got him running around, and he's like, oh, it's 4 miles south of there. And then he gets there, he's like, it's another 2 miles this way. Man, he's just running this guy because he knows he doesn't have a vehicle either.
And he's verbally toying with, the idea of killing Hal, or maybe he's already dead, or maybe he's already hurt, or, time's limited here, when really most that's Pope just kind of bluffing. And that kind of makes me wonder, and I want to go back to, I think, season...
You think he's bluffing? I think he's toying with him is all he's doing.
Well, he's toying with him by bluffing. He's toying with him in a lot of different ways. But
okay.
Yes. But I want to go back to season 3 because there was a very interesting episode where Pope and Tom were lost in the woods together. Remember that?
Does a Pope... I was going to do something in the woods. Never mind. Yes, I do.
Now you got me going.
Yep.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yep.
What was that?
You're working on it.
What was that fairy tale movie? Into the Woods?
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods.
Into the Woods with Pope and Tom.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's our Disney moment. All right. So I want to go back to that episode because that was probably the closest they came to ever becoming good friends. In the episode they met, they kind of started their relationship of it was season 1, episode 2, where they met Pope, and really Pope kind of joined the Second Mass ever since then. But just going back to that, because that episode, I think it was the plane crashed, and Pope and Tom were just kind of trying to find their way back together. They bonded, they fought again. I mean, just, your typical epitome of Pope-Tom relationship. But there was a moment where Pope talked about some very personal stuff from his past and his history, and he talked about how he'd killed someone. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it seems to me that Pope plays a tough game, but I think he's actually got a soft spot, like, under all that tough exterior. I don't think
I think so too, but I think that he's snapped.
Well, he definitely snapped, but I think there's still some, like, fuzzy Pope left in him, to be honest with you. Look at...
Fuzzy Pope, yuck.
Fuzzy Pope. Well, not many more on his top of his head, but I want to go back to this because that was a very painful experience for him, having killed someone, and I don't think he takes that lightly. Pope's not just this murderer, killer, senseless, emotionless machine. I mean, he doesn't like killing people. He likes killing aliens, and I think he likes taking his, frustrations and his bad boy, attitude out on, something that's not human, something he's not going to go to jail for, something that's not going to eat away at his conscience. But so all this talk about, killing Hal and whatever, even though he snapped, so much of it is just, I think, kind of what I talked about last podcast or one of the last podcasts, where I think Pope here really more than anything just kind of wants to put on a play. He just wants to put on a show that gets people to just experience just a taste of kind of what he's going through is what he's trying to do. And we saw in some ways, if you're a fan of The Dark Knight, and you better be,
why? You gonna come over and punch somebody in the face?
talking about he snapped, and I feel like I'm talking.
You better be.
Well, you better be. Just plain and simple. I feel like I'm talking more like 99%, and you're talking like 1%. So I'm gonna give you a chance to speak here in a minute. But I want
No, Frank, it's good. It's good.
Okay, thanks. I'm back in my like Dracula mode where I'm just like monologuing, and then until Zach calls me. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that I think Pope's putting on a show, and I think he's retaliating in ways that he kind of wants people to experience a taste of what he's going through. And I got a very Harvey Dent Two-Face vibe.
Sure. Well, that's why, I mean, his personality is affected. That's why I don't think he's bluffing. I think he really is going to do it, or he intends to.
But why hasn't he done it yet, though? Like, what's he waiting for? Is he waiting?
Because he wants to do it in front of Tom. That's what he said.
Does he want to do it in front of Tom, or does he want to kill Tom too? Like, what does he want to do?
No, it's what he said. I think he's being 100% honest with it. I'm going to kill Hal in front of Tom, and then I'm going to kill Tom.
I honestly don't see that. I don't think Pope has it in him. Even everything.
He killed a guy in cold blood in this episode.
Okay.
He killed the guy in cold blood.
Take me to that. Okay, you're talking about
when the guy was hurt and he just went bam.
Okay.
You're non-essential.
Okay. Great.
So he killed that guy flat out. You don't think, and he didn't have any rage against that guy. Imagine what he would do to. He hates Hal and he hates Tom.
Yes, he does, but I don't think he would kill them. I think he knows deep down in his heart that they're not. They weren't out to get him.
Yeah, but what was this guy who just like, oh, I broke my leg? I mean, come on, that was a serial killer type killing, like not even serial killer, but that was a homicidal act.
Yeah, true. Here's the thing, though. That guy to him was a stranger. He didn't have any relationship to him, and he didn't really know anyone who knew him. So there was like absolutely no potential for loss emotionally, or the feeling of loss in that act.
I disagree. I really think that we are seeing a different Pope. I think if you had said this at the beginning of the season, I'd agree with you. Where we're at right now, Pope will kill.
Okay.
And I think it's plotted killing. He is setting up, he's like a spider. He's setting his trap. He's got Anthony with. Anthony's a psycho. I think Anthony is less likely to actually hurt one of them than Pope is.
I agree with you. But let me just say this. If you think Pope has changed all that much, then you have been duped by his own performance that he wants you to believe.
We'll see. There's only, 5 episodes left. I think I'm right.
All right. Well, we all think we're right. But only time will tell.
Yes.
Now, speaking of thinking we're right, you've been talking for a long time about Hal dying at some point this season, at some point, maybe late in the show. I thought this episode might be the one.
I thought this was it.
And like, it's funny that I say that after my whole little speech on Pope not killing anybody, but that's part of why I think that. Like, that's why some of these proofs I'm seeing, like, oh, he was like right about to kill him, and like, oh, he didn't. Like, I look at those little clues and I go, okay, that's where I'm coming from. But that moment where he was trying to get Hal to kind of agree with him with that statement he was making, and he was hurting his wounded
and then he pulled a gun on him, and I thought he was going to really pull that trigger. I
looked like he was about to,
and I think that the internal struggle that you're talking about was there at that moment, but I don't think good was going to win out. I think he would have shot. I think literally 1 second more, and that would have been it.
But 1 second more, I mean, he was the one who chose to stop, right? We didn't see anyone else interrupt him.
No, he did get interrupted by the explosions outside.
All right, and see, now here's a thing where I'm watching it on TNT's app, and like it cut off right when he was like about to pull the trigger, and like went to like 3 minutes of commercials, and I was like, so for those 3 minutes, I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna come back to like Hal's dead body.
Yeah, no, it was he's holding the gun on him, and then there's that explosion or whatever outside, and he just like ran that way at the explosion.
Okay, I didn't quite
So I mean, you could say, well, yeah, he wanted
experience
to
that
kill him.
same.
He would have just taken him out right then before he ran outside. But I think that he had bigger fish to fry. What if that was Tom? If that noise outside was Tom, then Pope's whole deal of shooting Hal in front of him is gone. He wanted him to see him kill him.
Yes, but how funny would that be if that was Tom, and Tom, without even knowing it, may have just saved his life by 1 second?
Yeah, right.
That's a wild thought. Um,
So I might be revising this a little bit. It might not be Hal that goes. It might be Tom.
you think Tom's gonna die before the end of the series?
He could die in the final episode because how the aliens wanted to keep him alive, and they were very insistent about it. Like, you can't die. Remember, they're trying to stop him.
Yeah, it's almost like a John Connor thing where they're trying to,
if
like if he dies, it's over.
Right. If he doesn't believe these creatures and all of a sudden realizes, wait a minute, this is going to be so much worse. Like, we're pushing these guys back, and for whatever reason, these other aliens haven't invaded yet. Are they waiting for us to wipe these guys out because they know that they can be defeated by them? So if he may end up doing the sacrifice himself to save humanity ultimately from a much worse threat.
And hence the common enemy thing.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
I also, this was really interesting. I also, the way the commercials worked, thought Weaver was dead.
At what point was that?
When he went into the door, and then you heard bang. All you saw was the muzzle flash.
Right.
And then they cut away, and I thought, oh my gosh, they killed Weaver. I didn't think that it was a ploy. I really thought they killed Weaver. And in fact, I'm going to criticize the show right here. I think they should have.
Really?
And not because I don't like him. I like Weaver. I like the actor. I like Weaver. I think it's a great thing they've got going with him. But pull that trigger, kill a main character that's been there from the beginning, an important character. That would have been a really tough move.
With that death though, that death is just so unceremonious, and just
right.
to not even see it, for him to not go down swinging, just
Wouldn't that add weight to this though?
Yeah, but almost like dead weight.
No, from a storytelling standpoint, I think I would have preferred it. I think it would have been amazing if Weaver walked in there and got shot by this random person, not an alien, a person.
That would have been insane.
And then you've got, because you got to realize at this point, the people they're running into are just as big a threat as the alien. When they ran into Brian and his sister, that was a pretty dangerous situation. This kook that's got his dead family in the other room, pretty dangerous situation.
Right.
And these are humans.
Now, he gave me a wee bit of like a Walking Dead vibe.
Me too. It reminded me of the guy who holds up, I can't think of his name, the guy that holds up, the guy that he first met, that Rick first met.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he finds him in that
guy.
city where he's all holed up and he's got all the barbed wire and everything. It reminded me of that.
Okay, so it reminded me of one of the characters that like kind of keeps their zombie like wife or relatives like still like living out in their barn or in their basement or whatever, because they think like maybe there's a cure.
Or when Herschel did that. Herschel had his family out, the ones that were killed out in the barn.
Herschel did that, and the
governor had his daughter.
So, like, that's the kind of vibe I got there, where he's just kind of defending his home with a shotgun, but he's still.
I had that too. I was thinking of the other guy, but then when Weaver, when they finally had the guy, and Weaver goes, "What the hell's behind that door?" I thought for sure it was going to be like skitterized, halfway human but chained up.
Yeah, and
that would have been nuts.
That would have been okay, but I feel like I would have felt like, okay, we just saw this. Like, this, I felt was a little more like, oh, this is fresh. Like, this is new. This is a cool.
Yeah, this was. Oh no, I agree. I think this was the way to go. But I was thinking that at one point, like, whoa, is this what they're doing?
Yeah, that did cross my mind.
And the Brian thing kind of went over like a lead balloon. Like, they didn't really go anywhere with that.
Yeah, that just kind of ended.
Yeah. So
now,
once again, adding weight, final season, last few episodes, kill Weaver right there. I also, Tom could have bitten it when he ran into Pope. I'm glad that neither one did, but I'm telling you, by the end, one of them is dead. Pope, very likely.
All right, before we move on, I just want to say one more thing about kind of where we were going. How about that speech by Weaver to that guy?
Oh yeah.
Okay, dead air.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was trying to remember where he gave the speech.
It was when he was getting them trying to
Right.
get him to basically,
He was humanizing himself.
well, yeah, and just kind of move on from this experience of isolation and not feeling like you've got a family, and blaming yourself, and just everything that we've seen Weaver go through, and just to be able to like take everything that he's experienced and everything that he's learned and just impart that onto, a younger man who's going through the same kind of struggles. I was like, wow, that was very moving. And see that, and that's the kind of thing where I would have felt like we didn't have one of those final great Weaver moments before he died. If
Right.
he had gotten shot there, I would have been like, oh, it was just like so unceremonious, and just like we didn't have our Weaver moment. But I think we had a Weaver moment there. And do you think that Weaver is going to die before the end of the series?
At this point, in my opinion, in my mind, like everybody's dead by the end of the season. Like I do think Weaver could go.
I think like you just plot ways in which like you go through each character in your mind and go like, oh, what would be a great way for them to die, and like how
Well,
would that affect
it's not even that. It's that I think that we're if this whole crew makes it to the end, other than say Pope, other than Pope's people, if Tom, his boys, and Weaver, if this whole group makes it to the end basically unscathed, I'm going to be a little disappointed. I don't think that's realistic. I think Mason has to lose a kid or Mason himself. I think Weaver dying would make sense. Anne is not going to die. If she does, I'll be very surprised. If they were going to kill her, it would have been when she was having Lexi and that whole thing. So I think she's making it to the end. I think I'm sure Matt makes it to the end. I'm sure Ben makes it to the end. So I think Hal, Tom, Weaver of the big ones are your most likely. They didn't kill Cochise either. I thought Cochise was going in that episode.
Man, they're coming. They're having close encounters with just about everybody here.
Yeah, they are.
You just brought up Matt. We didn't see Matt this episode. Not really.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he was. Well, we didn't really see the camp. We saw Tom on the road finding Pope.
Right. Well, Matt, we miss you.
Oh, Matt.
Anyway, I want to talk about one thing, and this is just me not blanking, but at least not remembering as clearly as I want to. There was a scene in which Tom shot Pope, right?
Yeah, when they confronted each other, right?
Yeah, and this thing
and Pope like walks outside, and Tom's just standing there, and they look at each other, and it's like and Pope reaches down for his gun, and Tom goes pop pop right into him. I thought Pope was dead. Pope's not dead, but man, that shot across the face, brutal. And then Pope shoots Tom in the leg, and at that point, that's when the flying thing, which I think is that other race, grabbed him and pulled him away.
Whoa, okay. So you don't think that was one of the s5e Hornets?
Nope. I think
you
it's
think
different.
It was one of those
because she was pushing so hard. Don't go in there. We can't lose you. You can't go in there. He goes in. I think they essentially were having to blow their cover to save Tom, because for whatever reason, Tom is the key to their thing. Now, do you find it weird?
I mean, unless these things that are communicating with Tom know the future, do you find it weird that they know for a fact that they need him, and they know for a fact that he would die if he went in? Like,
I think it's very strange.
Two huge assumptions that they seem very sure of, and it's a little bit like, wait a minute, like, do you know the future or something, or like, what's going on?
Well, no, they couldn't know the future because he didn't die when he went in. I think they knew that the potential was there. There was a great potential for it, but obviously they didn't read the future. Or you make the argument that your future is not really set; they can only see what they can see, and there are variables.
But they were just really sure about it, or they were just very confident in that Tom was their best.
Yeah, well, the risk was so high. I mean, it almost happened too. So the risk was so high that they're saying, no, you can't go in there.
Now, and this app goes to commercials at the most like awkward times and makes you like forget like what's happening and where you are when you come back. But where exactly did Pope get shot, and how did he survive?
He got shot. Well, you saw he had a bullet had grazed his face at the end. Remember, had that big gash across his face. That was from a bullet, and it looked like he got shot, maybe in the chest or something. Martha was saying, my wife was saying, she thought maybe he had Kevlar on or something. But Tom got shot in the knee. It looked like, which should have just taken him down, but he stood up and that thing grabbed him. And I don't know if Tom got shot any more than that.
Now, we didn't see where Tom ended up, did we?
No.
That was
all we know is Tom was like, or Pope was like, "Where's Mason?" It's like, well, you know what? How do they know? You saw this giant bug flew him away.
Huh. And that really looked like an s5e Hornet. I think that's what we were led to believe, that that's what that was.
That was my first thought. And then after I thought about it later, I thought, those bug things, that thing that we've seen, the reflection in the mirror, looked a lot like that too.
Okay. Well, interesting theory. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of convincing evidence. I think it's an interesting idea, but I think we're supposed to think at this point that it's a Hornet.
Right. But why would a Hornet grab him and take him away? Why would, unless those things are controlling him, why would a Hornet just swoop in?
I mean, maybe an overlord.
And if it's an overlord,
wanted to see him.
If it's an overlord, that strengthens my case that these things are bad enough that an overlord reaches out to Tom for help.
I could see that. That's actually a common thing that you see towards the end of like a show like this, or a show where there's like a big struggle where like the enemy will come to one of the key protagonists,
right?
And kind of a little bit on their knees and say, "Help me out here." We've seen
which after all this for that to be the case would be very strange.
Yeah, but it would be strange, but it would be like I could see that kind of strange, because I think a lot of things that the s5e do, especially in interacting with humans, is kind of strange, and so I think it's interesting that they would do that if that's what's going on. I don't know why else a Hornet would be swooping him away unless it's like a rebel Hornet or I don't know, something.
Boy, that would be a little. I think at this point that's a little convoluted. You could be right, but it would be like, okay, now we're adding rebel Hornets into this after we've already dealt with rebel Skitters, and maybe that's it. Maybe this one
rebel
works with
Skitters, which kind of disappeared from the storylines without any explanation.
Right, I was going to say maybe this is the resurgence of the rebel Skitters.
Yeah, if maybe they're trying to close a storyline.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they thought like, oh, we need to rescue Tom. He's in danger. Let's swoop in and just go grab him, and we'll bring him to our rebellion. Like, I don't know. It would be convoluted. It would be messy, but it would only be messy for the fact that they like kind of dropped the storyline. We saw them kind of a little bit towards the beginning of season 3, but after that they just kind of faded out, and no one really brought them up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. However, if that's what's going on here, it would feel messy, but it's a theory that maybe they're trying to close that storyline. But I think the more obvious answer, or maybe not obvious, but like more likely scenario, is that the s5e want to meet with Tom, and they maybe were seeing that he was in danger, and I don't know. I don't think that it was. And are we calling them the?
I don't know what we're calling them.
Ladonia.
Okay.
Is that what we're calling them?
Yes.
Because, that's what Kochi said that's what Tom was seeing.
Yeah.
So is that what you think that
yes.
Hornet looking thing was?
I think that's what it was.
Now those things don't have wings though.
How do you know? You've only seen it kind of standing there.
Well, yeah, but I guess
if a wasp was standing there with its wings down, the wings would be folded on its back. You wouldn't see that it had wings that it could pop out and fly.
But since skitters don't have wings, unless the skitterization process de-winged them.
But the Hornets work with the skitters. Maybe this is some kind of hybrid that works with those things. I'm going for it, Frank.
Okay, I would be amazed if you're right about that, but that's
prepared to be amazed.
You prepare.
I'm prepared.
Yeah, you're gonna prepare to see that Pope really doesn't have it in himself to kill someone that he has
totally does.
With someone that he has a relationship with.
Someone he hates that much? Yes.
And then what would Anthony make of Pope if he went and killed Hal or Tom?
He's not gonna be settled with it. He's along for the, we need to take this back. We need to take the fight to the people. And we're going to set this up. But as soon as he sees we're going to kill somebody in the face in cold blood, I think Anthony's going to rethink what's going on here.
I sure hope so. If it comes to that, I sure hope so. I hope that there's at least some struggle at some point between where Pope is going and where Anthony's going. Where would you like as a viewer to see the Pope situation resolved? Do you want to see Pope dead? Do you want to see him just leave? Do you want to see him forgive? What do you want to see?
At this point?
Well, you want him to die.
Yeah, I think I want to see him die.
Okay, Rob, if Tom, Hal, Weaver, Pope...
I'm not saying they're all going to die.
And Cochise...
Cochise? No. These are just people that over time I've said, these are all likely candidates. I'm not saying they're all going to die. They're candidates.
It just seems to me that you've got like a scenario in your head for every main character's death.
I think Pope could be dead soon. I think if Hal goes maybe in a blaze of glory with
Hal goes it.
Pope. Hal goes it. If Hal doesn't go and it's Tom goes in the final episode as like a sacrificial lamb for himself. Not a lamb, but a sacrifice to better the situation.
Right.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Are you not with me on this? And I thought Weaver was going to die, but
I could see that. I just find it funny that like you've got all these scenarios in your head. And it's like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have thought of that, really, but okay, I guess I could see that. And you've got so many of them.
Well, at least one of them's going, probably two.
At least one of us is thinking outside the box.
Right.
Now, we didn't see Maggie in this episode. And I don't think Oh, wait, no, we did.
Right, we did.
Oh, we did, okay. Yeah, not for very much, though. Her and Ben almost smooched, and then, yeah, that was about it. At least that's about it that I remember.
That was a little...
Someone's going to email me now and be like, what are you talking about? There was a huge, deep moment. I'll be like, what?
Yeah, that was a little odd. I mean, she got all jazzed up from those things. Then she's like, why? And then that was kind of it.
And, okay, what would happen if they were able to remove the spikes from her? Like, I mean, they cured her, they fixed her of whatever, but like...
I don't know, would she remain fixed?
Yeah, can they remove them from her now and maybe give them back to Ben, or just keep them detached, or in case anyone ever needs spike healing or whatever? Like, does she still need them? Is what I want to know. Because if she doesn't, I'm gonna be like, did no one seriously think of pulling this weird plug that's causing all these problems?
Well, once these things are gone, which is what we're assuming the final episode will be, can't they just remove them from both of them?
Well, you'd think so. Like, I mean, they safely removed how many was it? 3 or 4 from Ben?
Yeah.
And successfully implanted them into Maggie's spinal column, and next thing you know, she's healed, and I'm going, okay, can you just give them back to Ben now? Now, what was it? She was paralyzed?
Yes. So if they take those out, will she be cured or will she be paralyzed?
I can't imagine she would go back into paralysis. I mean, those things like straightened her out, like removing them.
Yeah, but if you remove it, will it revert? That could be.
How could that be possible though, unless you were re-injured?
Well, because if what it's doing is somehow changing her, and then when it's removed, it starts to revert back to the muscle issues that were there. I don't want her to be in a wheelchair or anything. You know what? Let's leave the spikes in. Let's not screw around with this.
Okay. I just think like maybe that should be something that's talked about, since they seem to be a source of trouble now.
Yeah. I don't know. I would. I mean, my gut says try to remove them, and I think she'll be fine. But who knows?
Now, was she paralyzed due to an injury, or was it something else?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm having trouble with that too. But somebody write to us and let us know what's going on. Because if I'm thinking this through, I don't see why you can't just remove the spikes from Maggie. But somebody let me know what you think.
Somebody's got to know.
Right.
Certainly not us.
Now, we met some new characters this episode. Do you like that Irish woman or whatever she is?
Who is that?
Yeah, that one that was... the
one that Hal was... Hal's new girlfriend, because Maggie's with Ben. So now this is Hal's new girlfriend.
Okay, and going back to that second episode,
That's why Hal's not going to die. Hal's got his new girlfriend. Tom's going to die.
it's funny that you say that because going back to episode 2, back in season 1, when they first met Pope, they had Hal hostage, just kind of like how they do now, sort of. And it was Maggie who was kind of holding him with, at gunpoint and marching him around to, talk to the second mess and all that.
Right.
So I got a vibe from that again. I was like, oh, here's Pope holding Hal again, and some woman is like, letting him free because I don't know, Hal is so charming or whatever. So I just found it funny that like here we are in this like situation again where Tom is, trying to free his son from this guy.
Right.
And the girl helping him escape.
Yep. And a girl that he's going to end up with.
You think so?
I think he ends up with her. Tom dies.
What about Maggie?
Maggie ends up with Ben.
Ah, God, please no.
Yep.
Ah, no.
Yep. I don't want that to happen either, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Like nothing will have went the way I wanted it to.
Well, get used to it, Frank. Life
already
is hard.
I just want one thing to go the way it's supposed
to. One thing.
You had one job.
Come on, Spielberg. Throw Frank a bone.
Please. Well, it's too late now. Anyway,
the wheel of time is set in motion against you, Frank.
The wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Yep. Oh, sing it out, Frank.
Too late. The moment's gone.
The moment's gone.
What else do we need to talk about from this episode?
Oh, man. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's almost midnight where we are, so
I'm so tired. I mean,
kind of toasted.
The one thing that I do want to bring up. Well, I've got two things, and then I really do think I'm done. One is there was a Frank Stella moment in this episode, and I think it deserves getting pointed out.
Please point to your heart's content.
The bowling alley was called Lois Lane's.
Really? I didn't notice that.
And I went, did Frank write this part?
That's awesome. Yeah. No, there is a street in Bourbonnais, Illinois called Lois Lane. And the street sign used to say Lois Lane, but the story is that people kept stealing the sign. And so now it's just, the sign just says Lois.
That's funny. Lane. I was just thinking I need to go there and steal that sign. So.
Well, and then there's Lois Place in Joliet, and that gets me mad because I'm like, why didn't they call this Lois Lane? They need to change that.
I'll tell you why. Because people keep stealing it, Frank.
But I want the chance to steal it. Anyway.
Well, if you go to this bowling alley, you can go to Lois Lane.
That's pretty good.
I thought you'd like that.
I'm pretty glad to hear about that.
And then my other thing I want to bring up is that thing with Tom and Pope having the shootout was gunfight at the OK Corral or Tombstone or whatever cowboy movie you want to make it. This was a cowboy moment.
It was kind of a cowboy episode.
It was. And I enjoyed that a lot. I think when you look at this show as kind of a Western like that, I think that it adds a real interesting element to what's going on.
It's cowboys and aliens.
It is. Where's Daniel Craig?
Did you see that movie?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't. It looked too weird.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, it's not fantastic. It's
bad-tastic.
It's off-tastic, I think we might want to say.
It's like so bad it's good.
Yeah. I mean, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
It's just fun.
Yeah, it's just a dumb popcorn movie. It's a good popcorn movie.
Is it better than Snakes on a Plane?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, Snakes on a Plane is really bad. Some of it's good. Some of it was enjoyable. Boy, when it turns bad, though, it sucks. This, I thought, it kind of falls into the same trap that movies like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or what's the one Van Helsing fell into, where they might just be a little too homogenized or there's not quite enough character development. And then all of a sudden everybody thinks the movie sucks because those little things are kind of missing. You know what? If it had come out 10 years earlier, it would have been like everybody's favorite movie. So there you go.
That was a very thought-provoking critique.
Sure it was. That's what happens when we get within minutes of midnight. And
when we get way off topic.
This is, for me, not only did we spend the entire day cleaning the house, I had to do all this stuff for this podcast marathon and everything, cleaning the house literally here. And let's see, today I've recorded, this is my 5th podcast. I'm tired, Frank.
That's a lot going on.
I'm tired, Frank.
Yeah. I was going to say I had a stressful day at work and tell you all about it, but you know what? Never mind.
Do you get to work the blue light?
There's no blue light anymore.
That sucks. That was the best part of Kmart.
There's more blue lights at the radio station than at Kmart.
I wish I was there.
Where?
At the radio station. I was being you, Frank.
Oh,
that was my impression.
I do wish I were there.
I'd love to steal that Lois Lane sign.
I think I'm going to go there now and just relieve whoever's on duty just because I'm bored.
Can I relieve you? You got blue lights on?
No, that's not the question. That's not something you ever say to someone.
Yeah, really. That's what kind of show is this, Frank?
That's what I want to know. We better quit while we're ahead.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep. Can we end?
Let's just end because, here's what's going to happen. We're going to stop recording and I'm going to be think of 5 things within the next hour that we should have talked about.
And here's the good news. We're almost to the next episode. Save those. I actually have stuff to bring up on the next one, believe it or not.
You already have stuff to bring up on the next podcast?
I do.
What? How is that possible?
It's this just in, and I'm not telling you everything, but I haven't had a chance to go through it. But our favorite listener, Judy, remember Judy?
I do.
She sent in another little recording. It says, challenge done. She did the Falling Skies timeline report.
Oh.
So we sat and talked about the timeline, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. So on the next episode, I will send this to you. We will both listen to it, and we will talk about it, and I'm sure we'll probably end up playing it on here.
This is funny how we do a teaser on the radio, stay tuned with me after the break, we'll talk about this. Now it's on the next podcast, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Well, I can't wait. And Judy, thanks in advance for your continued correspondence, because that's kind of what we thrive on.
Thrive? Sure.
Yeah. Survive.
It is what we're nourished by it. I'll say that.
We are nourished by it. And
we do love it.
It makes the show more fun for everybody involved, because it's not just Rob and I bouncing off each other. It's everybody bouncing off of everybody.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yes. Speaking of bouncing off, I just want to close this podcast right now by saying that, speaking of feedback, you are welcome to share your theories, ideas, questions, critiques, or anything in between. The best way to get a hold of us is on the internet, and we can contact the Southgate Media Group email or website. Rob, why don't you go ahead and let us in on that?
The email is southgatemediagroup@gmail.com, or you can write to us right on the webpage. There is a comment section on every page, and that is southgatemediagroup.com. And I mentioned that podcast marathon. This show will post before it. The podcast marathon is August 1st, which is this Saturday, 2015. 12 hours of live podcasting. It will be on a live stream on our site. So if you want to see what this whole live podcast thing is, you can check it out there. We're trying to raise money for a kid from Elgin, Illinois. He's 10 years old, has ADHD, is autistic, and has stage 4 brain cancer. So we're doing it as a fundraiser. But you can watch it for free. Or you can donate. There's a donate button on there too. So there you go. If you'd like to check it out, it will be a lot of fun. It'll be really cool.
Yeah, you got to love those 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
And when you love what you do, though, you actually do love what you do. That's my deep quote for the night. Anyway, I was going to say we are also on Facebook. Just search for the Second Mass Report Falling Skies podcasts, and you can get in touch with us there. Or on Twitter, and I think it's at... what is it? Something pod. Something pod.
How about Second Mass Pod?
Second Mass Pod. That's what this.
That would make sense.
I was thinking escape pod, and then I was like, how do I escape from this?
You're like, how do I make a joke out of this and fail?
Shut up.
Lois Lane.
Yeah, exactly. Lois Lane is in my ear and in my eye.
Oh, that was terrible. Oh. All right, we got to end.
The clock will strike 12 at the tone. Hey,
is somebody going to page you again?
Report. Shush, I'm trying to close out. The Second Mass Report is a production of the Southgate Media Group. We'll be back again in a few days with another podcast. Till then, stay vigilant, active, and brave.